5 angels. The one angel that had the sixth trumpet, and then the 4 angels that were released. And I told you to think about that and come back with an answer today. What's the difference in the 2 angels? The 2 sets of angels. So did you think about it this week? Did you forget all about it? You were thinking about camp, weren't you? Okay, let's reread it. 13 through 16.
The sixth angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice coming from the horns of the golden altar that is before God. It said to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." And the 4 angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind. The number of the mounted troops was 200 million. I heard their number.
Okay. Now we said last week that the 200 million was a number that we find where very often.
China's troops.
I'm sorry? China has a 200 million man army. They've been bragging about it since 1978 or so, 1976. And they maintain a 200 million man army all the time. 24 hours a day, they are dressed and ready to respond. They sleep in their clothes. So, that number is probably very accurate. I mean, who would pick 200 million out of the blue 2,000 years ago? And then all of a sudden that number magically appears today? Now the Bible's accurate. Okay, now what about these angels? The sixth angel, and then the 4 angels that have been reserved to do their deed in 14 and 15. What's the difference between the 2?
They have, the 6th had maybe more authority, or
Which one has more authority?
the 6th.
The 1 or the 4?
The one.
The 1. The 1's in charge. So, where does the 1 get his authority from?
God.
What? God, heaven. Okay. So the 1 angel that's going to blow the trumpet, he is doing the will of God, and he's in charge. He has total authority. Now what about the 4? What authority do they have?
Whatever the 1 tells them.
Whatever the 1 tells him to do, and there's limitations there. He can only do so much. He can only kill 1/3 of mankind. He can only do it on the very hour, the day, and the month that it was chosen for it to be done. So what is the source of these 4 angels? Remember the definition we had for angel last week. What was it? A citizen of heaven. An angel is just a creature that lives in heaven or has its citizenship in heaven. So these 4 angels are probably fallen angels that have been reserved and set aside for God to make one last plea for mankind to turn to Him. Okay? Now, we will pick this up again in probably chapter 11 or chapter 12 when he gives a physical description of them, and they look like grotesque frogs. So they're probably demons, fallen angels that God is going to allow to do certain things to get people's attention. Okay, any questions?
If they're fallen, but they're still doing the work of God, are they going, is it kind of like a redemption for them to build it?
No, they're puppets. They're doing exactly what God tells them to do and only what God tells them to do. And he's doing it only to get mankind's attention so that they will turn to him in desperation. When do we turn to God? 99% of the time.
When we're in trouble.
Huh?
When we're in trouble.
When we're in trouble, when things are bad, then we go and then we pray every day. I remember when we first went into Kuwait and we were going to free Kuwait from Saddam Hussein back about 100 years ago. And you could drive through town and you, on Wednesday night, and you could see lights in every church. Every church started having Wednesday night Bible study and Saturday or Sunday night Bible study. And every church got together and prayed for the troops, prayed for the war, and prayed for this and that and the other. And then we won the war, and what happened?
Lights went off. Quit.
We have more Sunday evening services than anybody, and we only have like 2 or 3 a month. And everybody just went back to their own lives, and the foe was over, and the problem was over, and we didn't need God anymore. So it's God's day, it's not God's hour.
I remember that happened when I was a kid in the 80s. I remember when that happened.
Yeah, well,
That they were, I mean, the leaders of the country were praying on TV.
you know how
No,
old
they
you just
were.
make me feel? Yeah, it was.
But that's exactly what happened, because the church that I went to as a kid, that's basically what happened. Yeah, everybody got together that night, the first night that they went over there, and it was like a big,
Well, they
big
got
deal.
together for almost the whole year. I mean, you could drive around, and Wednesday and Thursday night, you could see lights in churches almost every week, because we were at war again. And good, that wasn't a bad thing, but then the war was over, and what happened? We'll go to the.
We don't need to do this anymore, they thought.
When do you pray the most?
When everything's
When you're
good.
happy or when you're troubled?
When I'm in the bottom of the barrel.
Do you think we'd be troubled less if we prayed more when we were happy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
You at
so.
least see it coming.
Well, and we would be prepared, we would have our.
See, Rob just said that.
Huh?
Rob just said that at the retreat. The whole
Oh, about
teen
it.
retreat was about prayer and your prayer life and all these things. And he hit on that several times about how prayer, being prayed up, prepares you for things coming.
You mean he stole my lesson?
No, I mean, God is working through both of you guys.
That is the Holy Spirit working to bring the message of unity together. I mean, I don't ever talk to Rob during the week. I didn't have, as a matter of fact, I even forgot there was a retreat this week. And I had no input or had any idea what Rob was going to talk about, and he didn't tell me. And then this morning, we're in perfect agreement on that issue. That's the Holy Spirit. And if that's not happening, then men are running the church and the Holy Spirit isn't. So pack your bags and go somewhere else.
But there was one time when we all went off, there's different times we all went off for our own prayer by ourselves. One time during one of those times, it came to me right then and there, like, it just, in my mind, Bill and Janice are praying for this. I just knew. So even though you weren't there, it was just that.
Praying church, a lot of good things. Okay, we're going to pick these angels up again later, in a couple chapters from now, and it's going to give us a physical description, and it's going to tell us more specifically what they're up to. But for right now, let's go to 17 through 19.
The horses and riders I saw in my vision looked like this. Their breastplates were fiery red, dark blue, and yellow as sulfur. Their heads of the horses resembled the heads of lions, and out of their mouths came fire, smoke, and sulfur. A third of mankind was killed by the 3 plagues of fire, smoke, and sulfur that came out of their mouths. The power of the horses was in their mouths and in their tails, for their tails were like snakes, having heads with which they inflict injury.
Okay. What about the 3 colors? Red, dark blue, and yellow. That's significant?
I'm sure.
Hmm?
So I'm sure it is.
Great. What do they mean?
I don't know.
What army might be red?
Russia.
Russia.
Russia, the communist
Blue ship.
army. What army might be yellow?
China.
China. Okay, 200 million man army would be China. What about blue?
Us,
Hmm?
us,
The way things are going, we might have a little part to play in that, but probably a bigger issue, probably
Iraq,
huh?
Iraq,
No,
Israel.
no. Not against?
don't you tell us.
Quit telling us no and tell us an answer.
Have you seen the flag of the European Union?
I would never guess that. Anybody else?
What?
Hey, they just, what's going on with that? Somebody just pulled out that.
We want your input on the whole thing of
Wonder what that
Britain.
means.
You're gonna get it right now, because I got an email this morning.
What does it mean?
Okay, you've got this totally blue flag with 12 gold stars circled in the middle, okay? And that is the flag of the European Union, okay? Now, how many stars should there be?
Well,
No.
you just said.
Have you read ahead about the beast that's going to come up who has 10 heads?
Jordan told me that's what it was.
What?
Jordan has been telling me that's what it means.
Jordy's
the
smart.
The European,
Yeah.
and
But there's 12 stars. So what happened? Why aren't there 10 stars in the middle of the flag instead of 12?
They're gonna have to
Because
redo
2
it.
of them are gonna pull out and one of them just did.
Yeah, one of them just did. Now there's 11 stars in the flag. And before all this begins, another one is going to pull out. So you're right, Jordan, and you're right, Karen. And we saw history in the making today, prophetic history in the making this week, when, you know, everybody said, the news said, they'll never do it, they'll never do it. All the polls said, they'll never do it, they'll never do it. And they did it. They did it against all odds, they did it against all bets, and they did it against all threats. Now we have 11. So what's going to happen next?
Another one.
Jordan says Scotland. Jordan says Scotland.
Scotland, maybe. It may be. But,
Where my ancestors came from, I hope they do.
I'm sorry?
I said, that's where my ancestors came from. So hopefully they do.
Do you think they're smart?
I doubt it. By the way I act, probably so.
Well, you got your wife to keep you straight. We'll be okay. Okay, so you've got this blue flag, you got the 12 stars, and we need 10 stars. Okay, and we'll get into the beast and the stars and the giant in Daniel with the iron feet, and then you'll see that those feet in our day will be iron mixed with clay. And we'll explain all that when we get to those 12. And if you look at the Roman Empire, it's the old Roman Empire that is renewed. And if you look at the old Roman Empire, you can see the 10 nations that it controlled. And you'll see the European Union. Okay? So you got the European Union. They are 12 at the moment, or they were 12 last week. They're 11 this week. And if you look at the news following that, there's about 5 different countries where the people have petitioned to have a vote so they could get out. Well, one of them is going to get out. Probably the other 5 will stay because Greece can't get out. The European Union's keeping them alive. Turkey can't get out. Italy can't get out because their national debt is so huge that they need the subsidies from the European Union. And that's what governments do. Governments come along and they get you committed to them. And then you have to do what they have to say. I remember 5 years ago we went to Canada fishing, and you have to get your potatoes when you cross the line. They won't let you bring potatoes into Canada because some of our potatoes have scab on them, and they say that they don't want our scab in Canada.
So it's not biochemical warfare, it's
No.
potato scab.
Fingers scabs.
Wow.
Like the wind is not gonna blow it across the border.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's economical too, because they want us to buy their farmers' potatoes and not bring our farmers' potatoes in. And we spend more money that way. So we went in and I bought 2 loaves of French bread, because we were gonna have French toast the next morning. And we bought 20 pounds of potatoes and 2 other things, and it was $62. And I'm standing there looking at the lady thinking, we can just live on fish, we don't need potatoes. And some guy behind me said, "You're not from here, are you?" And I said, "No." He said, and he handed his government card over to the cash register, the lady at the cash register. And she scanned it, and she looked at me and said, "That'll be $19.
What?
If you've got the government card, you can buy what I bought for $19. If you don't have the government card, then you have to pay $60 for it. So, who's gonna say no to the government card? Or to the mark of the beast in the next chapter?
Well, is my JC card the mark of the beast?
Yes, we'll talk about that next time.
It saves me thousands.
No, you're doomed, son.
Give it up.
Them gas points are evil.
Don't even.
How many strikes you got against you in heaven?
Say what?
Every point.
Yep, JC, CVS.
No, it's not, but it is a precursor to, once they say you have to have it, and once they say you can't buy or sell without it, and once they say, well, we're gonna put it in the, on your right hand or in your forehead, then run.
Ethan and I watched, I've told you before about this, but on the news one morning, I don't remember if he was homesick from school or if they were on break, but he was watching the stupid Today Show, which I have since quit watching just recently, but anyway, we watched this guy, one of their European reporters, live. He was going to get a chip implanted in the back of his hand, and in whatever country he was in, it opened all the doors and paid for everything. And I mean, we watched it live, and Ethan's sitting there going, and as soon as it was over, he went, "That guy just took the mark of the beast." And I mean, Ethan's 7 or 8 at the time, it's like, wow, he was horrified.
Well, when my daughters first started college, I was working nights at Walmart, because I sent them to Christian schools. There weren't any scholarships or anything till after the first year. Now, the first year, they got straight A's. They got all kind of scholarships, but, there weren't state schools, and it was like $25,000 a piece per year for them to go. And so I got me a job at Walmart, was working at Walmart. And so we had a meeting one night, and the guy came in and says, "Okay, there's a new thing coming up." He said, "You may run into some people who are here from California or Colorado or New Jersey, or one of those states. There's a pilot program coming out, and they may walk up to the cash register, and after you run up their groceries, they may tell you to scan their hand." He said, "And that's perfectly okay. You scan their hand, and the money is transferred from their account to our account immediately." And he said, "This is the new thing that's coming up, because charge cards get stolen and identities get stolen, but they can't steal your hand." So we're going to be seeing that more and more. So if somebody tells you to scan their hand, just take the scanner and scan their hand, and it'll do the transfer, and you'll see it happen right on your computer screen. This was in 2003. This was in 2001. This was in 2001. And we had a person in Jasper. I wasn't at the cash register, but we had a person in Jasper from California tell them to scan their hand, and they scanned it, and it went beep, and we had the money, and spit off the cash register, and that was it. It's already here. It's not being used for what it's going to be used for later, but all the technology is already here. It's all set up. It's ready to go. And when we get to the mark of the beast, we're gonna look at it in detail, but, not this morning.
I caught that on that movie Back to the Future a couple of weeks ago. I was sitting there watching it, and on the second one, he had to pay for the cab, and he took his thumb,
Yeah.
put it on the scanner, and read it off there.
Well, my pistol gun safe runs by my thumb.
My phone.
We have,
I put my thumb on that door falls down and the gun's in my hand.
we have buildings up here, or rooms up in Jordan Hall, which is the big experiment building, that you can't get in unless you, I mean, I can't get in, but you have to be, have to have your hand, has to be entered, your palm print has to be entered in there to get in the buildings. You have to scan your hand to get in there.
The technology is all around us, and we'll talk about the barcode, and the 666 is on every barcode of everything you buy right now. And we'll talk about that in a chapter or two. And I'll show them to you. I'll bring you a barcode blown up, and I'll show you exactly where it's at. And it's on every single barcode in the exact same place, 666. Okay? But we'll do that later when we get to those chapters. All right? Any other questions? Okay, so these three colors are probably three armies that are going to meet at the very end of the trumpets, and they're going to meet in order to destroy Israel. Their entire goal, their complete goal, is to destroy Israel. That's been Satan's goal from the beginning. And what has Israel done to anybody?
They've had more hardship than anyone else.
How long would you wait if people were bombing your children and shooting missiles at us? How long would we wait and say, well, let's just give them some time. Maybe if we're nice enough to them, they'll quit.
I was reading a thing online here a while back, and the guy was from Israel. And ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, all them groups have put out basically a hit on this one man from Israel that is going around, and they said that he has killed hundreds of terrorists, and he's using nothing but an axe and a sword.
A what?
An axe and a sword.
An axe and a sword.
Yeah. Like I said, I was reading this online, how much
Yeah.
faith you can put into this, but.
It's gotta be true if you saw it on the internet.
Yeah, well.
It's illegal to put wrong things on there.
Sounds a little bit like Samson with the jawbone of the ass.
I'm 6'5" on one.
And good looking too.
With that. Tall and handsome online. So they'll be looking in real life.
The power of the horses, these,
Shut up, Midge.
the heads of the horses, the power of the horses were in their tails and in their mouths. Okay? And previously he described these locusts as having steel plates all over them. What might he be describing now? The first one was more like a helicopter because it was flying and they had golden heads. And if you've ever looked at a tactical helicopter, the windshields are a goldish color, so they won't get blinded by the sun. Okay, they look goldish at a distance. Okay. Now he kind of gives us another description, but he says they're more like horses, and their sting is in their tails and in their mouth. What could that mean?
Tanks.
Tanks. Because that turret goes either way, and they also have a gun facing to the back. And if a first century man is looking at a tank, I mean, what does he know that you ride? Donkey or a horse, that's all people rode back then. They rode donkeys or they rode horses, okay? And this army is coming in riding on these horses. I need to look at it in the Greek and see what the Greek word for horse is here, and whether he's really talking about an animal or if he's talking about a beast of conveyance that carries things around. But if a first century man was trying to describe a 21st century scene, and the only thing he knows that people ride on are horses and camels, he's probably not going to be able to say tank or armored troop carriers, or he doesn't know anything about that. He has to describe that the best he can with his own language. And so he describes it as something that's written with shooting fire out its mouth and out of its tail, or that turret is swinging back and forth and firing at the enemy. And also, when if it shoots, if it's a tank with rockets on the side, he's going to see the rockets go out to the front, but what's he going to see coming out to the back? Flames, fire, the exhaust from the rocket. Now, how's he going to describe that? Well, they're stinging men from the front and from the back. He doesn't understand how missiles work. He doesn't understand what he's seeing. He's just describing it as best he can with with the words in his vocabulary. Okay? Anything else on that? Let's read 20 to the end.
And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts.
Okay, what's this tell you?
They're stupid.
We're stupid. We're pretty. I mean, the rest of mankind that were not killed by these plagues still did not repent. What does it take, I mean, to get some people's attention?
Everything.
Mankind, the bottom line is, we were created to serve. And we have two masters that we can serve. We can either serve God, or the Bible says we can serve sin. And we've looked those up. There's dozens and dozens of scriptures that say we are going to be servants. How many scriptures are in the Bible that say we have a free will? Take a guess.
0.
I got a 0. Who give me 10? You know, we talk about our free will, we talk about our free will. Well, we've got our free will. Well, we've got our free will. We don't. We were put on this earth to serve, and we will serve. We will serve either God or we will serve sin, or in the background Satan. We're gonna do that. And it's going to control us because that's how we were made. How else can you explain the fact that every heathen in the jungle worships? Have you ever thought about that? And every time you go into that new village or that new society that they find in the Congo or along the Brazilian rivers, you find two things going on in every one of them. You find people who are worshiping nature and the rivers, the trees, the sun, the white buffalo, whatever. They are serving the things of nature, or they are involved in witchcraft, voodoo, witch doctors, things like that. Even in the darkest place, you find people worshiping good things, the things of creation, or you find people worshiping the dark things, the things of Satan. How could that be if they've never seen civilization, if they don't know anything about the Bible, but yet they always know there's a God? You can't find one of those villages that's not involved in worship. How is that? Nobody told them. Well, two things. Number one, we all came from the same source. Every society on earth, no matter how dark, the Aborigines, all of them, they all have a flood story. How do they all have a flood story? Because we all have the same origins. We all have Noah for an ancestor, and ultimately Adam in the beginning. And why do they always worship the created things? Turn to Romans chapter 1 and then we'll have to pray. God is being revealed. Okay. 18, the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of man who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power, and his divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made or created, so that men are without excuse. We can see the very essence and the truth of God in everything that was created. Everything. It's all right there for us to see. Now, we live in a civilized country, so we have a lot of distractions, and we have people teaching evolution, and we have people distracting us in different directions. But if you're out in the jungle and it's survival every day, and that tree or that monkey or that river is what's going to feed your children tonight, they see God in those things, because it is clearly, since creation, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen. And when you go out in the jungle, when it's survival of the fittest, and when it's day to day, and that river's feeding you every day, you see the provision of God in that river. And when it's protecting you from the tribe that's on the other side of the river, you see God's protection in that river. And when those trees are shading you and providing the monkeys and the fruit for your children, you see God's invisible qualities in those trees. Or you can go the witch doctor way and suffer the consequences of that. And we talked about the Dominican Republic and the Haiti Republic being on the exact same island, and one is a Catholic nation and it's super prosperous, and you draw this thin line through the jungle, and on the other side they worship Satan, and the people are starving to death by the thousands every day. What's the difference between the two? That thin little line, or who's providing for them? Okay, we gotta go. See you next week. Chapter